Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the 13-game NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, December the 8th. We got a massive slate today. We got 13 games. We're going to go game by game, guys. As always, we're going to talk through each game on the slate and break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at the slate on Tuesday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out kind of an early core, five picks specifically for DraftKings and for Yahoo that I do like at first look. Now, as always, with NBA, there's constant news coming out throughout the day. With it being a 13-game slate, there's going to be guys that get ruled out today that we don't expect to be out. It's just how it is. There's some teams on back-to-back, so we're going to have to pay attention to the injury report there. Could see some guys rested given they're on a back-to-back, but if you want more of my updated content, like if you really enjoy these first look videos, you want to see more of my updated content, that is provided over on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description. Get access to my full updated core plays that I normally post about an hour before lock. Get access to our Discord chat as well. You can ask me questions anytime throughout the day. Up until lock, even after lock, I'm always in Discord answering questions. And also on Patreon, I give out some of my favorite picks each day for Prize Picks. So if you play on Prize Picks, or if you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet, be sure to get over there. Use code NOAH when you do sign up for Prize Picks, and they will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100. You can check out what Prize Picks has to offer. They are more of a player prop based DFS site, so you're basically just picking the over or the under on their player projections. Right now, they don't have anything posted yet for NBA, but they'll get stuff posted, early Wednesday morning. You can take a look at their board, see what they have, available, and very simple. Just pick the over or the under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money over on Prize Picks. So sign up and use code NOAH when you do sign up, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. But let's take a look at Wednesday's 13-game slate. Since it is such a big slate, I'm going to try and go fairly quickly. Go through these games as quick as possible, kind of, just give my brief thoughts. So starting off with the first game of the night, the Sixers and the Hornets. We just saw these teams play, on Monday, playing once again on Wednesday. Joel Embiid, he went nuts on Monday against Charlotte. They had no answer for him. Embiid put up 74 DraftKings points, played 41 minutes in that overtime game, 43 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. It's a great spot for Embiid once again. Charlotte, they don't have anyone to stop him on the defensive end. PJ Washington, Nick Richards, Miles Bridges, like whoever they throw on Embiid, it's a mismatch. It wouldn't be surprising to see Embiid put up a massive game once again. The only issue I have with Embiid is that his price went up, to 11.7. Plus, it's a 13-game slate, so there's a lot of pay-up options today. You have Jokic, Giannis, KD, Harden. You got Luka on this slate. Like, there's so many guys to pay up for. I still think, given the matchup, given how good of a spot this is for Embiid, he is still on my radar. And then we're going to need to keep an eye on the status of Tyrese Maxey. So Tyrese Maxey was a late scratch last game. He's questionable for today. If he gets ruled out, Shake Milton at 4,600 will definitely be someone I have interest in. Shake Milton did start in place of Maxey as expected. Played 35 minutes, had 27 DK points, was fairly productive. He's always been a pretty productive player when he does get minutes. His price went up a little bit, but I still think Shake Milton would be in play for me if Tyrese Maxey gets ruled out. But that's probably it from Philadelphia. I don't see too much else I'm going to look to here on a 13-gamer. Now on the Charlotte side, Charlotte, they are really shorthanded once again. Basically, everyone that was out on Monday is out once again. So we kind of know where the minutes are going to go. Charlotte ran a really tight rotation. Miles Bridges played a ton of minutes. Gordon Hayward played a ton of minutes. Kelly Oubre played a ton of minutes. PJ Washington, even though he came off the bench, played a ton. Same with Cody Martin started, played a ton of minutes. So we know where the minutes are going to go. The only issue is that these guys did get priced up a good amount. Like Miles Bridges is 8,200 now. I still think Miles Bridges is in play just because he's probably going to play 36, close to 40 minutes if this game stays close. But at 8,200, he's priced, probably where he should be. Same with Gordon Hayward at 7,600. They actually did start Gordon Hayward at point guard last game, and we kind of saw that really benefit his assist numbers. He did have a 9 assists last game, which is the most he's had. Like I think that's like the most assists he's had like all season in a game. So I think Gordon Hayward, if they start him at point guard again, which they probably will, they're going to run the same starting lineup they did last game. He's definitely in play at 7,600. I mean, he played 44 minutes in overtime. He's probably going to play 38, 40 minutes. Gordon Hayward's definitely viable. Kelly Oubre had a massive game last game, 58 DraftKings points. He also played a ton of minutes. He took a ton of shots. He took 24 shots. He's going to take a ton of shots again because, they just don't really have any other guys that can score. Oubre is a pretty scoring-dependent player. He doesn't get a ton of rebounds. He doesn't get a ton of assists. He did have 4 steals last game, but that's something we can't really expect to happen, every night. 7,500, I think his price has come up enough to where I'm not as interested in Kelly Oubre. I still think there's upside for him just because he's going to shoot the ball so much. but at 7,500, like, you're really paying for him now. He's not nearly as good of a play as he was last slate when he was 5,800. Same with PJ Washington. He was 5,700 last slate. He's now 6,800. So I don't love PJ Washington. I still think he's viable just because the minutes should be there, even though he's going to come off the bench. But at 6,800, like, you're really paying for him. And then Cody Martin, he was really cheap last slate. He's up to 5K now. I still think Cody Martin's viable just because he's going to play a ton. He played 42 minutes in overtime, probably plays 36, 38 minutes here. I think there's still upside for Cody Martin. Like, I still think he can put up a good enough game to where he, does really well at 5K. Is he a standout play on this slate like he was last slate? No. Obviously, there's probably going to be some value that opens up as the day goes on. I doubt a 5K Cody Martin is going to be like, some of the best. I doubt he's going to be like one of the best values like he was last slate, but still playable just because the minutes are going to be there with how, shorthanded this Charlotte team is. And then off the bench, we could maybe see James Bouknight get some run. He played 22 minutes last game. I don't think he's really going to be on my radar today. Same with the guy like JT Thor, Nick Richards. Really, we just want to focus on the main guys that are going to get all the minutes, the 5 guys that we just talked about. So I think that's probably it for Charlotte. I don't see too much else I really like here. So moving on to the next game, Chicago and Cleveland. So Chicago going to be, pretty shorthanded once again. We saw DeRozan get scratched last game. He's out once again today. And also Alex Caruso is going to be out for Chicago. So Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Lonzo Ball, these guys are going to play a ton of minutes. Zach LaVine last game, he played 39 minutes, was pretty productive, had 49 Draftkings points. He's 10,500 though, so I don't think Zach LaVine's like a priority play for me. Even with DeRozan out, even though he gets a boost, I'm not going to pay 10.5 for Zach LaVine. Like, that's a lot. Same with Vucevic at 9,500. Like, Vuce, you're really paying for him right now. You're not getting a great price on these guys. I still think there's upside for them. Like, nobody would be surprised if Vuce put up 50 tonight. But even if he puts up 50 DraftKings points, like at 9,500, you're not really gonna, Vuce isn't winning you the slate at 50 or at 9,500. And then Lonzo at 7,500, his price actually came down a little bit, which makes no sense. He put up 49 DraftKings points last game, and now his price went down $100. I don't really understand that. But, he played a ton of minutes last game, 40 minutes. I think there's more upside for Lonzo without DeRozan on the court. I mean, DeRozan is a high usage player, so getting him off the court, there's going to be a lot of beneficiaries. I think Lonzo, should be more productive. 7,500 though, I don't love Lonzo at his price tag. I still think he's in play. I just don't think any of the main Chicago guys are standout plays on DraftKings given where they're priced. But we do get some value from Chicago. So Derrick Jones Jr. started in place of DeRozan, and he played a ton of minutes. He did get into some foul trouble, so he probably would have played way more than he did. He got 28 minutes, but he probably would have played like 34, 35 had he not picked up some early fouls. His price did go up a little bit to 4,300, but I still think Derrick Jones Jr. looks like a pretty good value today. Now it's my first looks at the slate. Obviously, there could be other value that opens up as the day goes on, but I do like Derrick Jones Jr. at 4,300. I think he's definitely on my radar, at least at first look. And $12 on Yahoo. I do like DJJ quite a bit over there. And then Io started as well in place of Caruso, so they basically went with Lonzo, LaVine, Io, DJJ, and Vooch. That was their starting lineup last game, and we saw basically, outside of DJJ, who got his minutes cut a little bit because of foul trouble, we saw all the starters play a ton, and especially Io. He played 41 minutes. He actually led the team in minutes 42 minutes. Actually led the team in minutes last game. Was really productive. Had 31 DraftKings points. His price came up to 3,900, but that is still too cheap for Io if he's going to be getting this many minutes. Chicago also ran a very tight rotation last game. They only played like 3 guys off the bench, and I think all those 3 guys really didn't play a ton. Like Troy Brown, he played 24 minutes off the bench. I know Tony Bradley basically backed up Vooch. He played 12 minutes, and then I think Matt Thomas was the only other guy off the bench to get minutes. He played 19. So Chicago ran an 8-man rotation last game. If they do that again, I mean, we should expect massive minutes for basically all the starters. All these guys are in play. I definitely think the value, though, is what really stands out from Chicago. If Io is going to be getting this many minutes without Caruso and without DeRozan, without Kobe White, he's definitely in play once again at 3,900, and he's really cheap on Yahoo too. $11 at shooting guard. I think Io looks like a really good value there. So basically, the starting lineup for Chicago, I think, is all in play today. The main guys, obviously those would be the guys you would think we'd want to roster, but given where their prices are at on DraftKings, I don't think any of them are like priority plays for me. But value-wise, there's definitely some good value from the Bulls that we just talked about. Now on the Cleveland side, there really isn't much that I like from Cleveland today. I think, most of these guys are just tournament plays. No one stands out at their price point. Jared Allen in tournaments against the Bulls, I think is fine. Garland is fine. These guys are going to play a lot of minutes if it's a close game, but there's no priority plays coming from Cleveland. So I think we can move on to the next game, talk about Washington and Detroit. So kind of similar with the Wizards here. There's nothing that stands out given where all these guys are priced at. When Washington's been fully healthy this year, they just have not been a team that I've really rostered much. On this slate, with there being 13 games, I just doubt I'm going to play any Wizards. I think Gafford is a viable tournament play just because the matchup against Detroit is pretty favorable. Gafford's minutes have been all over the place this season. Lately, he was getting a pretty good run, but then like the last few games, his minutes have kind of come down a little bit. I think he's also been in foul trouble in those games, though. I think if he's not in foul trouble here, we probably get like 24, 25 minutes from Gafford, but on a 13-game slate, like I just don't think I'm going to roster any Wizards on a 13-game slate. There's nothing I really love here. Now on the Detroit side, it's kind of the same thing. Like, this matchup against Washington's really not great. Washington's been playing way better defense this year. They've been playing at a way slower pace. So even guys like Jeremy Grant, Cade Cunningham, like they don't really stand out to me. I think their tournament options, they're going to be really low owned. I think for the most part, everyone in this game is going to be low owned. So, if you want to take some shots on Cade or Grant as a, GPP flyers, I think it's fine. But I don't see too much I love in this game. And again, we got 13 games today, guys. There's going to be some that we just really don't spend much time on. And that's one that I don't really have much interest in. Now, next game, the Knicks and the Pacers. So the Knicks are one of the few teams, or I think there's actually a few, might be more than a few. It might be like 3 or 4. We do have a good amount of teams on back-to-backs today. So definitely keep an eye on the injury report here with the Knicks. I'd assume that everyone's going to be good to go, but on a back-to-back, maybe they sit Derrick Rose. We don't really know, but keep an eye on the injury report. If everyone plays, though, I don't see too much I love from the Knicks. I will say that R.J. Barrett, he had a massive game on Tuesday night, played 39 minutes, had 47 DraftKings points. He might get some ownership today because of that. I would be fine fading R.J. Barrett. If he's going to be really chalky, if people are going to play him because he did so well on Tuesday, I mean, I'd be totally fine just not playing R.J. Barrett because he's not been that great this year. Even though he had a great game, he's been so inconsistent. I'd be fine avoiding him. Julius Randle at 10K, I don't think really stands out. Same with Alec Burks at 6,800. Derrick Rose was someone I had interest in Tuesday. That was a 3-game slate. Today we have 13 games. I don't think I'm going to play Derrick Rose today. I just don't think I'm going to go to any of the Knicks. This is just not a team I really want to be rostering on a 13-game slate, given where everyone's priced. Now on the Pacers side, we might have to pay attention to some trade talks here. So we did get a report from Woj, I think, today it was that Sabonis, Miles Turner, and Karis LeVert are all like on the trade block. Like those guys could maybe be traded. I doubt that would happen like anytime soon, but you never know with NBA. So keep an eye on that, I guess. For now though, everyone should be playing for Indiana. And if everyone's playing, this is another team where, given the pricing, like nobody stands out. I mean, Sabonis, you're paying a premium for him. Brogdon's 8,500. You're not really getting him at much of a discount. Same with guys like LeVert and Miles Turner. I just don't think I'm going to be rostering anything here. I mean, both these teams are fairly slow-paced. I think this will be a very low-scoring game. I'm just not going to be rostering many Knicks or Pacers on this 13-game slate. So I think it's another one we can kind of go ahead and skim through. And really, that's all I got to talk about there. So next game, Milwaukee and Miami. Milwaukee, for me here, I think it's just Giannis, and that's probably it. When Giannis is healthy, I rarely roster Middleton, Drew, Portis. Like, I just don't really play anyone else on Milwaukee when Giannis is healthy. Giannis at 11-6, I think is fine on this slate. I don't know if Giannis is going to be like a top stud for me just because the matchup against Miami is not great. Miami is missing some key guys, though. No Jimmy Butler, no Bam Adebayo. I think their defense will be definitely worse without those guys. Still not the best spot for Giannis, but on a 13-gamer, anytime we have the slates like this where there's probably going to be value open up, Giannis is always someone I'd like to pay up for because he has just such a high floor. Even on bad nights, Giannis is still going to give you 45, 50 DraftKings points. I mean, last game against Cleveland, that was a floor game from Giannis, and he still put up 48 DraftKings points. Like, he just has such a high floor. We know the ceiling is there as well. I think Giannis is firmly in play. He's really the only one from Milwaukee, though, that I have interest in. Now, on the Miami side, Miami's actually a team we definitely have to spend some time on because they're going to be shorthanded today. No Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo is going to remain out. So without Jimmy and without Bam, we kind of know who we want to go to here. Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero are going to be the two guys that really dominate the usage, have the ball in their hands a lot. And Lowry at 7,200, I think looks like a really good play today. I like him a lot at first look. And I think on Yahoo, you can definitely go to Kyle Lowry over there as well. $26, way too cheap here, without Jimmy Butler and without Bam. He's just going to get so much usage, so much opportunity, and the minutes are going to be there as well. Like, I'm pretty sure last game, Kyle Lowry, I think him and Hero both played I want to say 36, close to 40 minutes. I think Lowry got up to 40 minutes. Let me see. I don't know why the DraftKings game log ain't loading right now. But I think Lowry did get close to 40 minutes last game. He's someone that I definitely have interest in. We know the usage is going to be there. The usage is going to be there without Bam, without Jimmy. And then Tyler Hero as well. Like he should play a ton of minutes if this game stays close. We know Tyler Hero's going to chuck when he's on the court. We know he's a high usage player, a guy that will take a lot of shots. I mean, both Lowry and Hero have a lot of upside here at 7,200 and 7K. They're probably a little bit underpriced. They should probably be, maybe closer to 8K. I think we are getting discounts on these guys. I don't think their price tags were really adjusted for Jimmy being out. So definitely like Lowry, definitely like Hero. I think Dedmon's fine. Without Bam, he should play 24, 25 minutes, maybe more, depending on how he's playing. At 4,800, he's an okay value, but I don't think he's going to be like a standout play on a 13-game slate. And that's probably it for Miami. Like Duncan Robinson, I mean, we know what he's going to do. He's a very score-independent player. He probably takes 7, 8, 9 threes. You just got to hope that he makes his shots. If he doesn't make his shots, we know that he has a very low floor. The ceiling is there, though, for Duncan if he can, if he can knock down shots. But I think I probably will just be focusing on the main guys here, Lowry and Hero. Those are definitely the priority plays for me from Miami. We can move on to the next game now, talk about OKC and Toronto. OKC, I mean, God, I think I might just full fade OKC. Like, this is another team that I just really have no interest in. Even SGA at 8,600, like, I really don't think SGA is someone I'm going to be playing today. I'm not going to play Giddey or Dort or any of these guys. Like, just, yeah, no OKC interest for me. On the Toronto side, Toronto's not a team I really love either, just because the guys you would want to be playing are all expensive. Van Vliet's 9,300, Siakam's almost 9K, Scotty Barnes is over 8K. Like, we're not really getting these guys at great price points. Gary Trent, 6,200. I think the one guy that is fine, that I would be fine rostering is Precious Achiuwa, just because he's going to continue to start and play around 30, 35 minutes. The matchup against OKC is definitely favorable. Like, OKC is not a good defensive team, especially down low against big men. We've seen a lot of big men have, really good games against the Thunder this year. At 4,600, if we get like 30 minutes from Precious Achiuwa, I think he will project out as a pretty decent value play. Don't think he's going to be like a slam dunk or, one of my favorite values or anything, but definitely playable. But overall, this game is another game that I just really don't like that much. So next game, Brooklyn and Houston. This is one we're going to have to keep an eye on when it comes to the injury report. So Brooklyn's on a back-to-back. KD and Harden both played like 40 minutes on Tuesday. KD played 40 minutes. Harden played 42 minutes. They're playing the Rockets. Obviously, the Rockets are one of the worst teams in the league. We've seen, on back-to-backs this year, like they will rest these guys. I think, I know KD's rested on at least a couple back-to-backs, if not one or two back-to-backs this season. Keep an eye on the injury report here. I think the most likely scenario is that both KD and Harden play, but it would not be surprising if they rest KD here. I think Harden would play regardless. I think Harden wants to play against Houston. I think it might be his first game back to Houston this year. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I think it's his first game going against Houston this season, back in Houston. So I think Harden will definitely play. It would not be surprising, though, if KD rests. But if KD and Harden are both playing, I don't think either one stand out at their price points. If I had to pick one of the two, I think I'd go with Harden, just factoring in the narrative, going back to Houston. Harden, we know, has a ton of upside. When he's playing alongside KD, his ceiling is not as high, but he can still put up a triple-double any night. The matchup's good. I think Harden's playable today. The rest of the Nets, though, I really don't like that much at all. The only way I'm going to be considering these secondary pieces from Brooklyn is if one of these stars gets ruled out, which I think is at least possible. But until we get full, confirmation there, I'm going to assume, both KD and Harden are playing today. So yeah, I think that's probably it for Brooklyn. Now on the Houston side, there are some guys I have interest in from Houston. The only issue is that these guys are kind of expensive. But like Christian Wood, I think has a lot of upside here against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's a team you can kind of beat down low. We've seen big men do really well against Brooklyn this year. Brooklyn's just always been really bad defensively against centers, no matter who's out there. When they had Jared Allen, when they had this year with LaMarcus Aldridge, with Blake Griffin, they're just a team you can definitely beat down low. So I think Christian Wood at 9,800 is really expensive. You're paying a premium for him. You're not really getting him at much of a discount, but the upside's definitely there, especially without KPJ. Like, he's going to get more usage, more opportunity to shoot, more opportunity to score. I think he's in play for me. I think Jayshawn Tate, almost 7K, price probably where he should be, but the upside for Jayshawn Tate is definitely there. We've seen that Jayshawn Tate can stuff the stat sheet. He is one of these guys that can do a little bit of everything, can score, can get rebounds, can get assists, can get defensive stats. He's kind of like a mini Draymond. I think at 6,900, Jayshawn Tate is definitely someone you can look to roster on this slate. And then Eric Gordon, should get some more opportunity without KPJ, should have the ball in his hands more. At 5,300, he feels priced about right, but still in play for me just because he should get 30, 32 minutes at minimum, and he's definitely viable. Really think that's it, though, from Houston. The main guys I have interest in here are Wood, Tate, and Gordon, and that's probably it from the Rockets. So next game, Dallas and Memphis. Dallas, once again, another team that's on a back-to-back today. I think these are the three teams that are on, or four teams actually. So we talked about who do we talk about first? We talked about the Knicks, who are on a back-to-back. They played on Tuesday. The Nets and the Mavs, who played against each other, they're both on back-to-backs, and then the Celtics are also on a back-to-back. So we got four teams on back-to-backs today. Dallas, I'm expecting everyone to be in, but keep an eye on the injury report here because we actually did see Luka and Porzingis both on the injury report Tuesday. Now they both wound up playing, but it wouldn't be surprising if they rest one of Luka or Porzingis. I think last time Dallas was on a back-to-back, actually Luka and Porzingis, both of them did not play. I'm expecting everyone to be good to go, though. If that's the case, there's not too much that stands out from Dallas. I think the only guy I'm really interested in here is probably Luka himself. Luka at 11.5 feels priced about right, but the matchup against Memphis I think is pretty favorable. Memphis defensively this year has not been good. Their defense has been better since Ja has been out. Ja's not really that great of a defender. Their defense has gotten a lot better without Ja, but still I think the spot for Luka is pretty good. I think he's a fine pay-up option today. I probably would rather play Jokic. I probably would rather play Giannis as well, but I think Luka's definitely in play. He's the only guy, though, that I really like from Dallas. Now, on the Memphis side, Memphis, we kind of know who we want to go to here. The only issue is that these guys are all priced right. There's nobody that stands out at their price point, but the upside is definitely there for guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. I know Desmond Bane had a pretty good game last game, scored 40 DK points. That's now back-to-back games for Desmond Bane with over 40 Draftkings points. You're paying $6,500 for him, though. It's not like you're getting him at much of a discount. So I think he's playable, but not someone I love. Same with Triple J. The 7K feels priced about right, but we know the upside's there for Triple J. I mean, he does have over 40 DK points in 2 of his last 4 games. Playable. Same with Dylan Brooks, but no standout plays, I don't think, from Memphis. Just a bunch of guys I think you can consider in tournaments. That's probably it. On the Utah side now, looking at Utah and Minnesota. Utah, you guys know I hate this fucking team. I never roster any Jazz. It seems like ever. They're just one of the most boring teams in the league. They're always priced they're always priced where they should be. There's never any standout plays from Utah basically any night, especially not on the 13-game slate. Could you roster Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert in tournaments? I think you definitely could, but those are probably the only guys I'd be considering from Utah. I don't think I'd really be going to anyone else on this Jazz team. It's just really Mitchell and Gobert for me. Now on the Minnesota side, Minnesota's another team today where we got to pay attention to the injury report here. It's really tough to break down Minnesota right now until we get word on Towns and Russell, who are both questionable. Both these guys were questionable last game. We actually saw Towns play and Russell be out. Last game, Towns had a massive game. Anthony Edwards did pretty well as well. I think both these guys would benefit if D'Angelo Russell is out again. Towns is 10,800 though, and the matchup against Rudy Gobert is not really that great, so I still wouldn't be that interested in Towns. And then Anthony Edwards at 8,400. If Russell were to be out, he probably would be my favorite play from Minnesota, just because he's going to get probably 38 to 40 minutes. He's not, he didn't see the massive price bump up that Towns did. So I think if D'Angelo Russell's out again, Anthony Edwards at 8,400, I do have a good amount of interest in. And then if Russell's out again, we can obviously go to Malik Beasley as well. Malik Beasley played 28 minutes last game, shot the ball really well, had 37 DK points. He would probably get 28 to 30 minutes today if Russell were to be out. I think at 4,200, he would be a pretty good value play too. So I think there's definitely going to be some plays that open up for Minnesota if these guys are out. Now, if both Towns and Russell play, then I'm probably just going to full fade this team. I think the only guy I'd be interested in at this price would be Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards is playable regardless, but I would have a lot more interest in him if one of Towns or Russell were to be out. But that's it for this game. We can move on to the next one, Denver and New Orleans. So on Denver, with Jokic, playing with him, probable expected play. He's really the only guy I have interest in from the Nuggets, and I think on this slate, Jokic is a really strong pay-up option. I mean, basically every slate Jokic is on, he is going to be one of the best studs to pay up for, and I think that's definitely the case today. So I like Jokic a lot, 11.9 on DK. Definitely want to be trying to fit him in over there, and I think on Yahoo, you can also look to pay up for Jokic at center. He's expensive, as you would expect, but $54, especially with how soft the pricing normally is on Yahoo, I think Nikola Jokic looks like a really good play as well. So I like Jokic quite a bit. The matchup against the Pelicans I think is pretty favorable. I don't think J-Val's really going to stop Jokic. J-Val's really not like an elite defender or anything, and Jokic is basically matchup proof. I don't care who's going to guard Jokic at this point. So I really like Jokic. I think he's my favorite play from Denver. Outside of Jokic, no interest in anyone else, given where they're all priced. Now on the Pelican side, I think it's just really the top two guys here, Brandon Ingram and J-Val. Now Brandon Ingram, he's been balling lately, 57 DK points in back-to-back games, but His price is now up to 9,100, so we're not really getting much of a discount on Brandon Ingram anymore. I still think he's in play just because we know the upside, the opportunity is going to be there. He's going to take a ton of shots. He's going to get a lot of usage. I mean, the entire Pelicans offense is running through these two guys, Ingram and J-Val. I think there's upside for both these guys on a nightly basis. I think where Brandon Ingram's priced at, he's more of a tournament play, but still viable. And then J-Val actually like quite a bit. I think J-Val's a really good low-owned tournament play. I think J-Val's going to have to play a ton of minutes here. Like, I don't really think they want Willie Hernangomez out there guarding Jokic. I think J-Val is basically going to have to play every minute that Jokic plays. I think he might even match the minutes for Jokic. So I think whenever Jokic is on the floor, J-Val is going to be on the floor. We know Jokic is going to play like 36 minutes, so that probably means we get like 36 minutes from J-Val here. Going up against Jokic, that's a scary matchup. That's definitely one that Joe-Val could pick up some fouls. You know, Joe-Val's a guy that sometimes can get in foul trouble. Guarding Jokic is definitely a worrisome matchup for him in terms of fouls, but at 8,400, if we get 36 minutes from J-Val, I mean, he can put up 50, 60 DraftKings points. We've seen him do it before. So I actually like J-Val quite a bit in tournaments. I think he'll be very low owned on this slate. And then I think Brandon Ingram's in play as well. That's probably it, though, from the Pelicans. So next game, Portland and Golden State. Portland going to be really shorthanded today. No Damian Lillard, no CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, we got word he has a collapsed lung. So, man, prayers up to CJ McCollum. I hope he's able to get through that, man. He was probable last game and then was ruled out like an hour before the game started. I don't think they ruled him out, though, because of this. This was just kind of a new thing that popped up that we got word of today. So prayers up to CJ McCollum, man. That's brutal. But, yeah, without Damian, without McCollum, I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for guys like Yusuf Nurkic, Dennis Smith Jr., Norman Powell, and we kind of saw that last game. Yusuf Nurkic did play a good amount of minutes, 30 minutes, had 39 DK points. Like, they need someone to score, and Yusuf Nurkic, you know, he can provide that as a big man. He's a pretty good offensive center. The only issue with Nurkic is that so far this season, his minutes have just been so all over the place. Some nights he'll play 30 minutes, some nights he'll only play 20 minutes. But I think without Damon, without CJ, they need offense, and Nurkic provided that for him last game. I think they're going to, get the ball in Nurkic's hands a lot. I like Nurkic quite a bit at 6,900 now. I think the matchup against Golden State is not great. Golden State's been pretty good defensively this year, especially against big men. But they're going to need Nurkic out there because they don't really have anyone else to score. So I like Nurkic quite a bit. I think Dennis Smith Jr. at 5,800 is definitely in play. Anthony Simons is questionable, so keep an eye on this. Anthony Simons, if he were to play, I would actually like Anthony Simons a lot at 5,200. He would be one of the best plays on the slate just because he would have to play a ton of minutes without Dame and without CJ. But we did see Dennis Smith Jr. play a ton of minutes without Dame, without CJ, and then Anthony Simons was also out last game. You got almost 40 minutes from Dennis Smith Jr., 32 DK points. Even at 5,800, I would definitely have interest in DSJ today, especially if Simons was out again. If Simons plays, I think I would rather play Simons over DSJ, especially since he's cheaper. And then Norman Powell, way too cheap on DraftKings. I don't know what they're doing, but 4,800 for Norman Powell. I think he's one of the better values right now, like below 5K, and he's really cheap on Yahoo too, so I definitely like Norman Powell over there, $17. He's one of these guys that, can provide offense for them, and we saw him take 24 shots, play 44 minutes in regulation. So 44 minutes for Norman Powell last game, took 24 shots, had 36 DK points. I mean, without Damon, without CJ, like they're just going to give the ball to Norman Powell and just let him shoot. At 4,800 against a fast-paced Warriors team, I do definitely worry about blowout here. I think there's a pretty good possibility that Golden State blows them out. Right now, Golden State, they're favored by 13.5. But if this game stays close, we probably get 40 minutes from Norman Powell. He's going to take a ton of shots. He's 4,800. Yeah, sign me up all day for Norman Powell. I think he's one of the better value plays right now for sure. Definitely like him the most from this Portland team, but I think if Anthony Simons plays, he's a really good option. I think if he's out, you could obviously go to Dennis Smith Jr. And then Nurkic, I think, is a pretty good tournament play as well at 6,900. There's a good amount that I do like from this Portland team. Now, on the Golden State side, not as much interest here. I think Curry and Draymond both in tournaments make some sense. I don't think either one stand out as like great plays at their price tags. Curry at 11.4, it's really tough to prioritize Curry over guys like Jokic and Giannis and Luka, who have just been way more consistent this year. Now, Curry obviously has a massive ceiling, and in this matchup against Portland, there's obviously a ton of upside for Steph here. Same with Draymond. Draymond's got triple-double upside. He's just been really inconsistent this season. Those are really the only two guys I'd be playing from Golden State today. I don't think I'd be rostering anyone else. So we can move on to the next game, talk about Orlando and Sacramento. On Orlando, it's a pretty good spot here against the Kings, so I guess you could go to some of these guys. I don't think there's any standout plays from the Magic, but like Cole Anthony at 7,600, if this game stays close, we know we're going to get like 35, 36 minutes from Cole Anthony. And at 7,600, he has shown upside this year to be worth that price tag. He's definitely viable. Same with Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo Bamba. Both those guys have upside, but they're priced where they should be. That's really it from Orlando, I think. I don't really see myself going to anyone else here. Now, on the Sacramento side, Sacramento, they're pretty much fully healthy now. They have Harrison Barnes back. They have Rashawn Holmes back. There's not a ton that I love here. I think De'Aaron Fox as a tournament play, 8,300 is viable. I don't think he really stands out, though, as like a priority option. There's guys I'd rather play for cheaper. I'd rather play Lowry, Hero, who we talked about. Those are guys I'd rather roster for cheaper. Rashawn Holmes, it's a pretty good matchup against Orlando, but at 6,300 doesn't really stand out to me, and I just really don't see much I like from Sacramento today. Sacramento, when they're fully healthy, they're not a team I really get too excited to roster. I will say Harrison Barnes is someone that we can definitely go to. Now, he is currently questionable for this game, so keep an eye on that. If he winds up playing, he's only 5,300 now. He hasn't played in like 2 or 3 weeks, so there could definitely be some sort of minutes limit on Harrison Barnes. But if we get Harrison Barnes full go, no minutes limit for 5,300, I mean, this is a guy that we were paying over $6K for not too long ago. I think Harrison Barnes, if he's full go, he might actually be my favorite play from Sacramento. But regardless, I mean, there's just not a ton that I think really stands out here. Most of these guys are just tournament plays for me. And then last game of the night, the Celtics and the Clippers. So looking at Boston today, it's a back-to-back for Boston. I'm assuming that, Jaylen Brown probably will be out again. I don't think he's going to be returning anytime here soon. I think he's going to be out for at least probably like another week or so with that hamstring injury. So, without Jaylen Brown, we know what we're going to get from Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, he was 9,400 on Tuesday's slate. He's now 10,600. So we're not getting much of a discount on Tatum anymore. Obviously, the upside is still there for Tatum. He can put up a massive game any night. But it's really tough to pay up for Tatum at that really expensive price point. I think Dennis Schroeder, assuming that Jaylen Brown's out again, I think Dennis Schroeder is actually my favorite play from Boston. He should get probably 35, 36 minutes if this game stays close. We've seen the upside from Dennis Schroeder whenever Brown's out. We know the minutes are going to be there. The usage should be there. He should be productive when he's on the court. So factoring in price tag, I think Dennis Schroeder is probably my favorite play from Boston today. Assuming Jaylen Brown's out again. Also keep an eye on like Al Horford. So Al Horford, he's prone to rest sometimes. Given it's a back-to-back, it wouldn't be surprising if they sit Al Horford. If that happens, then a guy like Robert Williams would look really appealing. But that's probably it from Boston. Now on the Clippers side, another team where I don't see too much I love. Paul George at 10,700 I think is viable. But I would rather play some of these other studs we've talked about. Jokic, Giannis, Luka. Probably would rather go to like KD and Harden, I think, if I could get to them. Embiid I really like as well. We talked about how good of a matchup it is for Embiid. So there's a lot of pay-up options. I don't think Paul George is like my favorite overall, but he's definitely playable just because we know the upside's there for Paul George. I will say that so far, especially as of late, Paul George has not been great. He's been a lot more inconsistent. We've seen a lot of disappointing games from Paul George, but the upside's still there. If you want to go to him, I think he's fine. On Yahoo, you could definitely play him too, $44. I was trying to pull up his game log. I don't know why. The Draftkings game logs are taking forever to load. But like you see it, looking at the Yahoo game log, I mean, it's not been great for Paul George. He hasn't put up more than 50 fantasy points. I mean, it's been like 10, 11, 12 straight games now with less than 50 fantasy points for Paul George. So he really hasn't been justifying his price tag. But we know Paul George could put up a 50-point game any night, or 55, 60-point game. So definitely playable. Not a priority option, though. The rest of the Clippers, like Reggie Jackson, Zubac, Marcus Morris, I don't love. I think Marcus Morris at 4,800 is definitely in play. He back-to-back games now with over 30 minutes. He's actually played at least 30 minutes in 3 straight games. And the last few games, he's been pretty productive. 27, 35, 30 DK points. Marcus Morris, normally not a guy that I really get too excited to roster, but at 4,800, if he's going to continue to play like 30, 32 minutes a night, he's definitely in play. There's probably going to be better value open up as the day goes on, but I think Morris is at least viable. He might be my favorite play from the Clippers if I had to roster anyone here. But honestly, not too much stands out in this game, to be honest. So I think we can wrap things up. I think that's it for Wednesday's big 13-game slate. This was a kind of a quicker breakdown. I tried to go as quick as possible, but did want to go through all these games, kind of talk through what stands out to me at first look. As always, guys, we'll break down the slate once again in the live stream an hour before lock. So 6 o'clock Eastern, I'll be live on my YouTube channel. We'll break down the slate, talk through any injury news that comes out during the day, answer all your guys' questions. Be sure to tune into the live stream an hour before lock. Also, if you enjoy these first look videos, you want to get more content from me, check out the Patreon, link down below in the description. You can get access to my full updated core plays that I post an hour before lock, get access to my positional plays, my favorite plays at each position, get access to my rankings, my top 20 plays of the day, ranked in order of interest. Also, you can get in our Discord chat where you can ask me questions throughout the day up until lock. I'm always in Discord to answer questions. And I do give out my favorite prize picks plays each day for Patreon members. So if you want to sign up for Patreon, you'll also get access to some of my favorite picks each day for Prize Picks. And if you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet, get over there, sign up, use code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit, give you a free bet up to $100. We talked about, how Prize Picks works. You make a couple picks, 2 picks, you can make up to 5 picks, win up to 10 extra money. Very simple. You just take the over or the under on players' projections. But yeah, sign up for Prize Picks, use code NOAH. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. As always, shout out to Prize Picks for being the sponsor of these videos. But good luck tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.